Welcome to the heCast, the He Changed It official podcast, update edition. This is a more informal podcast than we're used to shooting. As I told you in the intro, I'm married to a gal who has founded this company. This is that gal, Candace Chisholm. Is this your He Changed It video debut?
Yeah, inaugural launch.
Wow.
Yeah, thanks.
And you've been building this company with your partner for years. 2 years.
Almost 2. We're coming up to our second anniversary.
And your debut is now.
Yeah.
What took you so long?
Well, I've been busy.
Busy
building a company.
Yeah, and it's at a place now where we're starting to see some really cool things. Hopefully this podcast is one of those cool things. Have you liked what we've been doing so far?
Yeah, I'm always behind the camera, but I think that it's been going really well. There's been some incredible guys that have come through and talked about some really vulnerable stuff, and some of it's made me cry. Some of it's made me laugh. I'm just really proud, really excited.
So where did this, and this is an update podcast, all we're really going to do is talk a little bit about maybe the origins of where things came from, and then just an update on the actual app and the company itself.
Yeah.
And we're going to be really transparent when it comes to that stuff, going all the way through with our with our group of people that come along the ride here with us, whether it's users or people behind the scenes. That's what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
Where did this idea come from?
Well, it was kind of born out of, just sort of what we saw was a hole in a market. But the reason why we saw there was a hole in the market was I worked in not-for-profit, worked with women and children, and almost every day, I would say probably about 5 times a week, I'd get a guy saying, hey, is there any resources for guys? Is there anything like this for men? Any sort of community like this? And there wasn't, especially at that time. I mean, that was, again, about 3 years ago. There wasn't that I had seen. I hadn't done a real deep dive on it yet, but I'm like, I don't know, man, you have to take a look. And there wasn't. And so when I exited that position, I started to take a look around, and to be completely honest and transparent, I thought, well, I'm going to go into the women empowerment. I'm going to do something called She Changed It, which was media-based, sort of like, bringing women to the forefront of how they've actually changed something. Because I always say I'm an agent of change. I love change. I love solution seeking. And I was seeing a lot of, with the Me Too movement, I was seeing a lot of stuff where it was like, there was so much negativity, and then you never heard what happened at the end. Like, that's great. Like, you brought this to the forefront. Then what happened? And it started to fizzle out. And that's what, human beings, we tend to do that.
Right.
And then so when I went and looked at that, I'm like, wow, there is this huge explosion of female empowerment companies. And then when I really went into Me Too, I'm like, okay, where's the information for the men? Because men go through this too. And it seemed to be such a woman-focused thing. So yeah, I started to look at what that looked like, and didn't find much in the digital arena. So mentioned it to a good friend of mine who then became my business partner. I told her, this is, what I might think of doing. And she phoned me back and she's like, I'm in. And thank goodness, because the company has taken on a whole new look because of who she is. So, well,
and we're talking about Shannon Crabb.
Shannon Crabb, yeah.
The other co-founder of He Changed It, one of our best friends in the entire world.
Yeah, fantastic woman.
Has had men in her life, deal with the throes of depression, mental illness, and even unfortunately suicide. Men in all sorts of different walks of life, from athletes all the way to high level business to just, I shouldn't say just, but to, regular men. Yeah. And I mean, I want to respond to this answer because I hear this question from my standpoint. Why would your wife start this type of venture? Yeah. But I'm going to ask you, so what are 2 women doing starting a men's mental health platform and solution based application? Where's that coming from? Why is it 2 women that are doing this?
Because it worked out that way. But really, it's funny. I get this question pretty frequently, and I get it from both men and women. I guess the short answer would be that it's because, we saw, like I said, we saw that there was a need. So we're filling it.
What is that need?
Business women, a need for men to have a safe place to go to help each other and to be helped. So that's why we created an app called He, and that's what we're doing right now. But the other reason is because if we're talking about balance and the way things are going and whatnot, it is not going to be advantageous for there to be, for us to cancel out toxic masculinity with toxic femininity. I mean, that's just reversing the side of the coin. It has its own implications. And when you look at what that does, that doesn't solve the problem of relationships. It doesn't solve the problem of equality. It doesn't solve the problem of any of that when you just try to cancel out an entire gender because one has been oppressed longer.
Right.
And so I look at that and I'm like, well, this is a perfect opportunity for two women
who both have boys.
I have two sons and a husband, and she has a son, and we both had great male figures in our life with our fathers, who've both passed, but. And I think that that's an important thing is to note is that we are fans of humankind. And that's like a 50-50 kind of a ratio, and honestly, in all reality, I think sometimes if men go to start something like this, there would be some pushback because there's a lot of talk about privilege and, well, it's our turn now and things like that.
Yeah.
But I have to be very, very clear that although we started the company and we've laid the groundwork for it, the majority, if not all of it, is we've got a team of men that are providing the content and the resources. You're doing the podcast. We've got men working with us on this. So it's not about us teaching men or anything like that. It has
I'll have other rules other than the podcast.
Of course, you have many rules, but
I'm the chief of special projects.
He is the chief of special
projects. I've got some special projects in mind.
That's awesome, actually.
This podcast being one of them. And this is a labor of love to be able to do this. For both of us, for different reasons. So I'll tell you the answer that I give people when they say, well, why would your wife start something like this? And the answer that I always give is, well, because a white guy can't. Wow. I feel like sometimes, and I say that a little bit tongue in cheek, but I also see a lot of quote unquote white privileged men, living paycheck to paycheck, having a hard time supporting their family, sometimes two families, like a former family and their current one, just having a really, really tough time. And then their perception is that they're being attacked just because of where they grew up. And they're like just trying to live as best a life they can. And we've had people around us who have unfortunately not been able to equalize that in their heads, and they have taken their lives, and we've seen it. Yeah. And the idea that this solution is coming from two women. Well, this is what I tell people. I say, you know what, as the feminine power rises, and I mean, you can agree with that statement or disagree with that statement. The feminine power is rising. Sure. It's happening. Yeah. And the good news about that is that the solution, I'm going to tell a quick story about you with that feminist writer, when you saw that feminist writer, what she wrote. But, the solution is not going to be, okay, the feminine power has risen, so we're just going to do to you guys what you did to us for all this time.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
Because two wrongs don't make a right. And also, now as the feminine power is rising, guess what? New solutions that have never even been considered are going to be brought into it. I watched you read an article from a feminist writer who said something very, very similar. It's like, okay, well, get in the back seat, boys. Now it's time to see how we've been treated. And I remember your reaction to that. Yeah. You weren't exactly happy.
No.
When you saw that. No. You didn't feel you were represented.
No, not at all.
With that statement. Yeah. You want guys to be okay, and guys and girls to be okay together, and guys and guys to be together. Like, you want everyone to have a harmony.
Yeah, I tell you, you know what? I feel like I feel very powerful, and I feel my feminine power comes from the fact that I have this ability to have like empathy. I'm a mother. I've created life, and I feel like this is a perfect opportunity for us to be empathetic and sympathetic towards a gender that has had a lot of generational imprinting involved. You're talking centuries of you are the man. This is how you act. This is what you do. And now we're saying, actually, we need you to not do that. But it's not, you can't just turn a switch on a dime. Yeah. How about we take us now and say, okay, well, here, like, this is how we can do this together.
Right.
And this is what it looks like. And again, it's not about us teaching anybody anything. It's about us learning from each other. And I think there's just so much capacity to do that.
Here's the question for you. Do we still get to be men?
Yeah, of course. Well, I would hope so.
Like sometimes I feel like it's like, okay, just because of the thoughts, impulses, humor, some of the things that naturally just come to me is just now wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm like, an old man who's out of touch on things when I'm just trying to think the way that I am. But I look around and a lot of my friends are feeling the same way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so in your opinion, do we still get to be men? Do we still get to have the characteristics that we've kind of always had? Even asking that question, sometimes some guys have a real problem with. There's a fear mentality out there that they can't say something like that out loud.
Yeah. And to that, I would say, I would hope so, because I think that we need to celebrate our differences that way. I don't want me personally, I like having a man as my partner. I like having a man's man as my partner. I like the things that, I like that we don't have the same. Did
you just call me a man's man?
You're a man's man.
All right.
So's in the beard. So again, it's about celebrating those differences, yes. Right? And it's about saying that's okay. It's just doing it in a way that, we can respect each other.
Right.
That is the basis, I think. It's not overly complicated. Mm-hmm. We try to overcomplicate things with rules and regulations. I think it's just, so to start, we're just putting a platform out, where men have a space that is safe. Because, if you want to even go down the statistic for 1 second, 3 out of 4 suicides are male. And a lot of people don't know that statistic. There's an actual men's mental health week that we sort of breeze past because it's in June and it's eclipsed by some other actions that are taking place out there. There's so much evidence that men are suffering in silence. And I just don't think that's right.
I'm going to ask you a question now that I know the answer, but I think it's cool to kind of peel back the curtain a little bit as to the foundation of the company. You've been recently dealing with a group, and I don't want to get too specific about things. As we've said in the past, I may be the host of the official He Changed It podcast, but I do not speak for the company. So if something gets said wrong, it's probably my opinion saying it. So I'm going to throw this out there very, very quietly. You're dealing with some people where there's some very high level Canadian military people who have kind of given information and things like that.
Yeah.
Where they talk about suicides.
Yeah.
And I guess here's the question. I'm going to set it so you can just spike it right now. Why do you think technology is the solution or a solution for this problem?
Short answer is it's meeting men where they're at. So yes, we've been in touch and conversations. And one of something that was said was that, and this was in terms of military.
Right. This is a very high-ranking
military official here in Canada. But he said that, for the suicides that he had been informed of male suicides.
And there are a lot?
A lot.
PTSD based?
A lot.
Yep.
He said every one of those men died with a phone in their pocket. So if they would have had someone to reach out to, if they would have even had something that they could have looked at, maybe where they had stored some memories or made some friends, that could have been the turning point to that decision being different.
Right.
So that's what we wanted to do. We want to meet men where they're at. We're not saying, counseling is great. Therapy is amazing. There's a lot of avenues. And especially when you're talking about diagnosed mental illness, we talk a lot about mental health. Those are very different things.
Okay, so this isn't a place where if you're a bipolar man, this is the place to go to.
I mean, if you're bipolar or BPD or something along that line, and you need a team of people. You need a therapist. You need people that are working with you to help regulate the chemicals and whatnot. So, but this is by all means you can partake because your experience will be that'll probably help somebody. However, when we're also talking about mental health, so like the majority of guys that we know that are going to be using this as well, it's a pillar of them. There's your emotional health, your mental health, and your physical health. It's no different than making sure you exercise daily or eat right.
Okay, so this could be for everybody.
Everybody.
That's what everybody.
This isn't just about mental illness. This is about everybody. And so that really is what we're wanting to do. And it could be just the bridge. Like maybe now after talking to somebody, you realize, hey, you know what? I should probably check out some of that chemical, what they're talking about with the chemical, and maybe you do end up going to therapy. This is the bridge that can take you across.
I want to go further down this path, but I want to do it with Shannon here as well.
Yeah, awesome.
We're going to have you and Shannon on for the next update. I guess in closing, where this is an update podcast, where's the app at? Where's the update?
So we have developed our beta version. It is sitting there ready to go. I have it on my phone as we speak. We are just waiting for a number that has to come from our Apple developer. Yeah, long story.
It's going to be in both stores, the Apple and the Google store?
Yeah, Apple and Google.
And
available for iOS and Android. And we're just waiting for waiting for the number. Once it is, it's going to a controlled beta group, which then start to release to a bigger beta group with feedback. And the goal is to have a marketable product out by the fall. That's
super exciting. For those who are just seeing this for the first time, we are rolling at this point. If somebody wants to reach out to you and with feedback, ideas, whatever that might be, how do they do it?
info@heChangedIt.
info@heChangedIt.com.
Oh, yeah, I guess that helps. Right?
info@heChangedIt.com. You are Candace Chisholm.
I am
Mike Chisholm. Thank you very much for allowing me to be a part of this major adventure.
Thanks for having me on your
podcast. That you have brought to our lives. It's been an amazing roller coaster so far, and I'm really excited for the next few loops that are going to happen.
Me too.
Thank you. I love you very much.
I love you too.
Okay, so we'll do that as well. And for the official He Changed It podcast, that's Candace Chisholm. She's the one who pays the bills. I'm Mike Chisholm.